So, we look like we're ready. But this is day one. It's about the work. And I've said that from day one. It'll always be the same message. It's about work. You got to go earn your right every year. It doesn't matter what the players are, the coaches, expectations, where you were, where you're going. We got to work, man.
Wants to throw it to Sewell. He caught it. Billy Sewell with a first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down to the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful.
Let me tell you something. I love this team now. I got goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team.
Fields looking pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
What do you think about the secondary?
Just look at the name, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You drafted Branch.
It started off with that huge hit on Beasley.
We call him things out. There's a big hit right away. And boom!
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Goff dropped it in the bucket that time.
We're in our window now to win.
Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as a loser. Hey, what's up, Andy B? And what's up, Rock Down Detroit Lions? Man, I'm so happy to be here tonight. It is the night before we kick the shit out of the Packers. Excuse my language, but this is a big game. It's a big game. It's a big time to have this game. The Lions are coming off one of the best defensive performances they've had in 3 seasons. And I have a feeling they're going to do it again. And I don't know if they're going to get 7 sacks, but they're going to do it again. That's my gut feeling after I poured through all the stats and read everything that I've read up on these guys. And, we're counting on a few things here, right? We're counting on Decker to suit up. We're counting on Montgomery to suit up. And we don't know if the Packers are going to get, 3 of their studs back. But if they do, that makes this a game. And that game is going to be a hell of a game tomorrow night, Thursday. And we're going to be doing a live stream. And we're not going to be able to broadcast the game, just so you guys are aware. We can't broadcast the game. There'll be tons of copyright issues with that. But we are going to try to pull off a play-by-play. We'll break it down. We'll have some conversation. We'd like some fans to jump in, obviously utilize the chat. And we'll send out the link. If people want to jump in, we'll put the link in the chat, and you guys can join the stream for a little bit and say hi and tell us who you are, what you're all about, and let's have a good time with it. We'll see where it goes. I'd like to do it for at least all the divisional games, and at least the ones that I'm not at the game. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. There's a lot of work left to do on it. But Andy, hey, welcome in, man. I'm glad you could make it tonight. What's happening today?
Absolutely, Will. Good to see you, man, my friend. Been a good night so far, and it's funny you bring that up about the Green Bay game. I, too, share your enthusiasm. Winnable game. I think we're going to win. I have no doubt in my mind, coming off good momentum, great performance against Atlanta. This is a game that I actually really put a check mark next to when the season schedule came out. Been really looking forward to it. And, hey, what can we say, Will? Just like the opening game against Kansas City, another primetime spot for us. The whole world's going to witness our Detroit Lions. I'm excited for tomorrow night. And, Will, I agree. Let everyone know, again, we're doing this first play-by-play live stream party. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. And I think it's going to be a great game, Will. I think
I do too. I do too, man. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great time with all the fans and everybody to jump in and have some fun with us tomorrow night. But without further ado, we got a ton to get through, a ton. But I'm going to start right off with the most recent injury report. I apologize. I got up at like 3:30 this morning and started cranking on all this stuff, and I uploaded the wrong file. So when my automatic post went out, I put the Falcons injury report up. Didn't realize it. My apologies. I think I scared everybody for a minute there. Kind of like what I did with the golf post. I'm just making sure you guys are paying attention, right? I mean, come on. I'm only human. I apologize. I'm only human.
You stirred the pot on that one, Will.
Yeah, I did. All right. So opening line, Detroit Lions -1.5 versus the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. The Lions, we know that there's 3 that are out so far. Jason Kabinda with a knee. I mean, no sweat off the back here. I mean, the guy's a hell of a special teams player, but he's not doing anything on offense for us. He really never has. Offensive tackle Matt Nelson. I think he already underwent surgery or is in the next day or so. And then Vaitai. He's obviously out with his knee issue. Decker, Jonah Jackson, Kirby Joseph, David Montgomery, Emmanuel Mosley, all questionable. And from what I gathered from Dan Campbell during the press conference, I don't think Mosley's going to suit up. And quite honestly, I don't know why they would at this point. If they weren't going to get him back like in week 2, or at least week 3, you might as well give him that extra cushion, of the 10 days off between, the Thursday game and the next Sunday game they play with Carolina. He'll be back by then is the goal. And I've said it before. I said it yesterday. I wish they would have kept Starling Thomas and they would have put him on reserve pup because we really could have used Starling when Khalil Dorsey went down. Thankfully, the defensive backs have been holding their own. They've been doing pretty well. I've got some interesting stats to share with some people tonight, and I think it's really going to kind of wake people up a little bit that the Lions are a different team. It's different, and that's like one of the new mantras. It's different in Detroit, and we're starting to see it on paper. So Packers, we know Shane Anderson, Bakhtiari, Devondre Campbell, and Elgden Jenkins are out for sure. Jair Alexander, Aaron Jones, Zach Tom, and Carrington Valentine, and Christian Watson are all questionable. What I gathered from the Packers press conference is that the ones that are questionable are probably going to suit up. The one that is probably the most questionable is still Christian Watson. He has not played in any of the games yet this season. So that's going to be a notable test for the Detroit Lions. I mean, that is the Green Bay Packers' best wide receiver. He is their playmaker. So if he's out, that would give the Lions, higher betting odds if you're a betting person. But I think it would give the Lions a questionable or a bigger edge, if you will, in this game. But Detroit's banged up nonetheless, right? Offensive line, Matt Nelson and starting right guard Vaitai having already been ruled out for the game. Starting left tackle Taylor Decker and starting left guard Jonah Jackson are both questionable to play. Both players limited participants, which is natural before, a game when you're dealing with an injury. All week they really haven't had much for practice. It's glorified walkthroughs or fast-paced full walkthroughs. But running back David Montgomery could be in line to return this week after suffering a thigh bruise or a thigh injury versus Seattle. And we really need him back. And it showed. It showed in the last game. Gibbs got his touches. He got more, right? But he didn't produce very well between the tackles. And that's something that we're missing. And we've got to have it because that's what sets up that play action pass. You really can't run the play action pass when you're constantly running outside zone. And you saw that, against the Falcons. We couldn't get the play action pass working. And that's why Goff only threw it to, had completions to 2 wide receivers the entire game, or maybe 3, but I think it was 2. It was Laporta and Amon-Ra for sure. I think Reynolds got a pass in there too. But that's not Goff. That's not Goff, man. That's Goff spreads it out to 8, 9, 10 guys. And it just didn't happen versus the Falcons because, what we were presenting, the defense with, we just didn't have enough firepower. But we will tomorrow for sure. Packers are hoping to return several important players like we've already discussed on offense, but it's still up in the air. Romeo Dobbs and Jaden Reed, former Michigan State player, they've held it down. Jaden Reed, phenomenal player. Obviously, I watched him for years with Michigan State. The guy is an incredible athlete. Somebody that I would have loved to have with Amon-Ra. 2 slot guys going at it. But, if Watson gets in tomorrow night, one of those guys is going to lose some touches. That's for sure. So I want to start off, Andy, unless you have something you want to throw in. I want to start off with some of the Packers' key stats, talk about Jordan Love, some things that I noticed, some interesting stats, and see where we go with this tonight. Is there anything you want to add, or is there any chats we need to get to right off the get-go?
Right now, I've got, I'll put it up here. I got Mike Miller. Welcome in. Always one of our great followers here, and thanks for joining us. Atlanta ran all over Green Bay in their win. We need our running backs to step up this game. Monty, hopefully back. I agree. I'd love to see, I know you and I have talked about this, Will. I'd love to see Monty back for that complete big body and that ground and pound that he's really known for. Love to see him back. I feel the same way, Mike. I think we're capable of pounding Green Bay. I actually pulled up an interesting stat just a minute ago. Will Jordan Love, he's only ranked 18 overall in passing yards so far this season versus Goff's at number 6. So, battle of the quarterbacks, we obviously have the advantage. The only downside for me is Bakhtiari. I obviously, as a fan, I would hope to not see him suit up, but he's probably going to be probable to play. And I think he's one of those guys that'll be an impact player on that offensive line that could give that defense some fits, because that's what Bakhtiari is known for.
Yeah, Bakhtiari's out. Bakhtiari's he's already been ruled out, so we don't have to worry about Bakhtiari. I don't know if you caught that earlier, but he's he's one of the 4 that's out for sure. So let me roll right into Jordan Love here. So Jordan Love, currently through 3 games, 51 for 96, a 53% completion rate. That is terrible. 12.8 yards per completion. That's actually pretty good. He's been blitzed 32% of his pass attempts, with 11 hurries and 20 pressures, resulting in 6 hits, 3 sacks, and 7 scrambles. What I noticed, through the game tape that I watched and going through all the stats and kind of reading into it a little bit more, is he's really hurting defenses with his legs when he does get an opportunity to scramble. He's getting about 11 yards per scramble, which is essentially a first down. If they're not in a second and long or third and long or something like that, he's able to pick up the first down with his legs, and he is fairly mobile when he needs to be. The Lions cannot let Love get going with his legs, or it will open up the RPO game and the optional play action pass sets that can be hard to cover and make our linebackers bite early, leaving that middle of the field open, which has hurt us all season long. For whatever reason, the Lions had it figured out against the Falcons, right? I expected the Falcons to tear us up over the middle with Kyle Pitts. They did the right thing with the zone blitz. They brought in, Branch and the DBs to come in and fill the gaps. And that's exactly what we needed against Seattle. I don't know why that they didn't do it against Seattle, but that was the right defense to call against Seattle and the Falcons. I just wish they would have done it the week before. We'd be 3-0 right now. So the question is, RPO or RP no? I'm leaning RP no, and here's why. Even though that the Packers have only run 6 plays with the RPO this season, I think that that's been a byproduct of a lackluster running game. If they don't have the running game working, it's hard for Jordan to pull it back and then do his thing, right? Without their top tier running back and Aaron Jones not playing since week 1, they really haven't had the opportunity to run the RPO as much as they'd like. So this could be a game where the Packers attempt the RPO more and try to catch the Lions off guard. But if the Packers stay true to their numbers, the Lions can contain Love by sticking to that 4-2-5 zone blitz scheme that they did against the Falcons and limit the RPO. It's dependent upon Aaron Jones coming back tomorrow and having a good game. How do the Lions defend it? Well, they're going to defend it the same way they did against the Falcons. Okay. The Lions will also have to take advantage of their new sideline to sideline ability in Jack Campbell. Captain Jack is able to get lateral, and he can do it quickly, and he's a hard hitter, and he's a cleanup hitter, and he's someone that is willing to go out there and make the plays. We also have the keen senses, the seventh sense of Brian Branch to sniff out these plays early like he did against the Falcons. And near the line, that should be major disruptors for this Lions defense to the Packers options. Just those 2 guys alone, I feel, could be responsible for keeping the Packers RPO, under wraps. Branch has been one of the best nickel defenders, not only for the Lions, but in the entire league. Not just the rookies, but the entire league. His aggressive play style relies on his deadly accurate pursuit and his intelligence in reading the quarterback. His hard-hitting and sure-handed tackling style has only lends to his superior play on the field. He doesn't miss tackles. And I'll get into more of those stats here in a minute, but he doesn't miss tackles. He's making the big plays, and he's making it count every single time. So when I look at the opportunity for the Packers to use the RPO, I think that the Lions have an opportunity to defend against it. And it starts with shutting down Aaron Jones. You shut down Aaron Jones, you bottle up Jordan Love. They've proven through 3 games that if they use the right style of defense, they can do it. Packers play action is my next topic here. Anything you want to add to that part on the RPO and Branch and Campbell?
Well, the one thing I want to say is we have to definitely do the RP no.
That's
because
right.
If we don't, I don't see them making this mistake twice. At least I think we can all agree we hope not. I don't want to see them get in a position where they let Jordan Love scramble as many times as they let Geno Smith in that Seattle game, because they left Geno Smith with too many opportunities. So let's hope they get that cleaned up. And Will, I agree. RP no. That's the name of this game.
It is, man. RP no all day tomorrow. I don't, they haven't done it all season, really 6 plays, but it's there. And it's there when they have a dynamic rushing attack, which they haven't had all season. So everybody listening tonight, keep your eyes on it tomorrow. We'll be talking about it, obviously, during the game, and we'll see if it happens. So the Packers play action is as deadly as any other team in the league when it's working. The difference is this is not Aaron Rodgers, right? This is Jordan Love. This is a guy that's been behind Aaron Rodgers for 3-4 seasons now. So he knows the gimmick. He knows the game. He knows how to run it. And he knows how to run it the way that the Packers want it to be run. But the Packers they've only put up 21 pass attempts by play action, right? Or about 21.8% of all of their offensive snaps have been through play action. We know that the Lions love to use play action. And for that to happen, again, it's highly dependent upon the run game to get established. As long as our run defense shows up again tomorrow, like they did this past Sunday, the Lions should be able to stop this component of the Packers' offensive threats too. As long as we can make the Packers more one-dimensional, this will all bode well for the Lions to be very successful in keeping the Packers under the magic number of 20, which is what I've been talking about all season long. Keep them under 20 points. You have an opportunity to win the game. Look, the stats don't lie. The numbers don't lie. You can't fake math. You look at last season and you look at how many games the Lions won, keeping them under 20, it'll blow your mind. That's the number to keep them under. So next point here is I want to talk about the Lions run defense. And I apologize if I'm going kind of fast because there's really a lot to get to. If you guys need me to slow down, I'll slow down. I don't want to feel like I'm yelling at you. I want to keep it kind of cool, calm, and collected, but there's just a ton to get to. The Lions run defense really should be on display tomorrow. I see the Lions, they're going to aim to contain A.J. Dillon right now because, as we know, Aaron Jones isn't in the game just yet. As the top rusher for the Packers since Jones went out in week 1 with a hamstring injury, if Jones is back and he's getting the majority of the snaps, then, the Lions are going to have to change up the game. They're just going to have to employ the same, type of defensive strategy that they're going to use on Dillon and on Jones. Just shut it down. Again, following the blueprint that they used against the Falcons is the exact blueprint they need to use tomorrow. We'll see if it happens. I believe the Lions will be able to do it. I really do. And here's why. And this is some of those stats that I think are going to blow your guys' minds. Last season, the Lions held the Packers to 117 and 104 yards on the ground, respectively. Pretty good game. Well, this season, the Lions are really riding a wave, with their running defense, their rushing defense. They've done an excellent job against the run so far. And this is a huge win for the Lions, who really struggled mightily last season against the run, especially against RPO-type quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, right? Justin Fields. They did terrible. 3-4 games last season did terrible against, quarterbacks that were, able to run. And they gashed the hell out of us. But here's some key stats that really may interest you. The Lions defense is only letting up 3.2 yards per carry right now through 3 games. That's insane. Now, you want your offensive rushing attack to be closer to 5. and they're only giving up 3.2 yards per carry. They've only allowed 2 TDs and 216 yards on the ground, or about 72 yards per game. They went up against the Chiefs, Seattle, and the Falcons, who all three had a dynamic rushing attack, and they shut it down for the most part. This time last season, the Lions had already given up 6 TDs on the ground and 511 rushing yards through 3 games, averaging 170 yards per game on the ground against the Lions. So over double digits more when you compare the 2 seasons. And last season, they went up against the Eagles, the Commanders, and the Vikings. And only one of those teams had a dynamic quarterback, and that was the Eagles. The Commanders had a decent running game. The Vikings had a good running game with Dalvin Cook. The Lions have seen all 3 types of those teams already this season. Geno Smith being the most versatile is a quarterback that can run, as you said earlier. Now, I hate to throw this out there, but anyone that's been a Lions fan for more than a decade will know what I'm talking about right here. This is eerily reminiscent of the 2014 Lions defense. But it was different, right? It was led by Ndamukong Suh, a major defensive tackle push up the middle that we don't have. This team is doing it different. They're doing it with more DBs. They're doing it with an extra guy in the box. They're doing it with additional linebackers. They're not doing it with a push up the middle. Until this past game when we had Bugs in the game, who is someone that can push, right, and clog up the lanes. But that's what it's reminded me of. This rushing defense, this run defense, I apologize, reminds me of the 2014 Lions defense. The Packers have not broken 100 yards on the ground in any of their games this season, including against the worst defense in the league, the Chicago Bears, in week 1. They are ranked 32nd in the league right now. So if they can't put up yards on the Chicago Bears, they shouldn't be able to put up yards on the Lions. Now, granted, they didn't have Aaron Jones in for the entire game during week 1, right? Or week 2 or week 3. So the Packers put up 92 yards of 1 TD, right? And it was only from 1 yard out. And that was with Aaron Jones. That was the only TD they put up in that game against the Bears. 1 yard out. Versus the Falcons, the Packers' ground attack was held out of the end zone completely. While the Packers' defense allowed 211 yards on the ground to the Falcons, right? This may be a breakout game for the Lions like everyone's been talking about. But we will get to know, we'll get to more on that a little bit later as I get to some other stats and some other things that are really shaping this part of the game. But this is really shaping up, for the Lions to become more dominant in their ability to stop the run and control the ball on both sides or control the clock on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. The Lions should have an opportunity to really have a great game on the ground and stop their rushing attack, at least on paper. And I've got to emphasize that, at least on paper. But I've also got to be honest with you guys about a few things. We haven't been totally wrong in our analysis so far this season. We've been pretty spot on with some of this stuff. Call it luck 3 weeks in a row. I want to be lucky a 4th week in a row, and a 5th, and a 6th, and a 7th. I want to get lucky the rest of the season. Here's some of the things that are going to surprise you guys. But before I go any further, what do we got in the chat? And what do you got to say, Andy, on any of this?
Well, Mike Miller has a good one here. How does it feel going into Lambeau Field as the favorite finally? They have owned us my entire lifetime. Time to flip the script. Started last game, last year. Bye-bye, Rodgers. Hey, you watched the intro to our video. My buddy here, Will, says it best. Aaron Rodgers left the NFC North a loser. So, yeah, we go to Lambeau and let's send Jordan Love home a loser. That would be the best outcome right there. Another one by Mike Miller. This win or loss, going to be win. Sets the mindset for the locker room this season. Huge game early on. Couldn't agree more, Mike. We beat Atlanta. We beat KC. Yes, we had that loss to Seattle, which we can put that past us. We win this game. We come out of Lambeau 3-1. I don't know what else I can say. It would be a great way to start this season. Now, first quarter of the season, go 3-1 would be absolutely amazing. And Will, to your point, the one thing I'm hung up on when it comes to the rush defense, if the Packers couldn't stop the Bears, if the Packers can't run through a defense like the Bears, I can't see how that they're going to be able to run through the defense that we showed on display against Atlanta. I just don't think it's possible.
I don't think it's possible either. But then again, Aaron Jones hasn't been in, so that's the only caveat. That's the only piece that we don't know about yet. And that's the thing that I was going to talk about later in the show too. But when players come back after injury, I don't care who they are, hardly any of them have a good game. You're just getting your legs, underneath you again. You're getting your feet wet again. You're getting back into it again. You got to go out and take a hit again and get up. That's the toughest part. You got to get up. So for all three of these dynamic offensive players to come back for this game doesn't mean that they're going to do well. Even if 1 out of 3 does well, I'd still say that the feather's in the Lions' cap there. So the next point I want to get to is Jordan Love is not very accurate. Okay. We're already going with RP. No, we don't think that the Packers are going to be able to pull it off and use the run pass option tomorrow. But Jordan Love has not been an accurate quarterback at all this season. Look, man, without his number one option at wide receiver through the first 3 games, and unless Watson suits up and adding a whole new dynamic component to that, Packers offense. And I should say too, that nobody really has any tape on those two yet, right? I mean, no one really has a whole lot of tape on Watson and Love throwing together, but will it make a big difference if Watson comes back or not? I'm not so sure, at least just yet. And the reason is Love's accuracy. I don't think it matters who Love is throwing to, right? If he's, it's either he's accurate or he's not. I don't think it's going to change because the receiver's last name is different. The receiver's number is different on his jersey. He still has to throw the ball. So if the Lions can force Green Bay into passing most of the game and shutting down the run, right? Limiting any ability that play action is going to come out or RPO, increase the pass rush like they did with the Falcons, and get it into Love's face, the Lions are going to win this battle too. And we could be looking at a trifecta where the Lions completely shut them down all over the place, all 3 sides. We haven't even gotten into special teams, and I probably won't get into special teams tonight, but the Lions have been playing fairly decent special teams ball, and that's about all I can really say. They have some things to clean up there too, but their special teams game's been pretty good. So if we can shut them down from the run, the play action, the RPO, and the pass game, which is going to be a difficult challenge, but I think that they can do it. I really do. And here's why. Love's receivers have 4 drops. That's not terrible. It's only 4.2% drop rate, which is pretty low by league standards. And Love only has 1 throwaway the entire season. The bigger issue is Love has 20 bad throws on the season. He's averaging 21.1% bad throw percentage on 96 attempts with 69 attempts on target for a 72.6 on target rate. And I know I'm setting this all up right now to fail, aren't I? Because I'm throwing out all these stats that on paper, it looks like a garbage throwaway game that we're going to walk in, clean their clock, and walk out and go home. I promise you, it won't be that easy. But it gets a little bit more interesting when you factor in the passes with bad accuracy resulting in non-catchable balls. While he is only under pressure, 18.9% of true passing downs. Okay. So if he's only under pressure that limited amount of time and he's throwing bad balls, what does that tell you? He just got bad accuracy. So the Packers' most targeted receivers, it's been Jalen Reed. I think he was a 5th or 6th round rookie this draft. And then you got Romeo Doubs. Both of those guys have 20 attempts each in the absence of Watson. Reed has 9 catches for 148 yards. Doubs has 11 catches for 129 yards. Reed has the most yak per catch at 5.2. Doubs is a paltry 2.1. And when I get into some other stats about Brian Branch, and you start to see some of these numbers right here that are lining up, those aren't huge yak numbers. Those aren't great numbers at all. Matter of fact, we'll compare Goff. Goff is obviously the better QB, and it's not even close. Not even close. For comparison, Goff has been under pressure 24.3% of the time, a whole 5% more. His receivers have 6 drops for a 6.1% drop rate. Goff has tossed only 11 bad throws on 103 attempts for 11.2% bad throw rate. Half as much as Love. And 80 on-target throws with a rate of 81.6%, which is a whole 10% more accurate than Love. That's a lot more balls ending up in your receiver's hands. Clearly, Goff is the much better quarterback in this matchup, and he should be. He should be with his experience. And what I'm going to trust here is in Goff's experience. I mean, we've seen it time and time again while he's been in Detroit. If you keep him upright for more than 2.5 seconds, and if you have the ability to get somebody open, he's going to put the ball in their hands. He's been deadly accurate. Last weekend, man, he was, 7 of 8 in the first quarter. I think he was close to 90% in the first half or something crazy like that. Yep. You know, and towards the end of the game, yeah, he had to throw some balls away. You know, our offensive line got beat up, and he was under a lot more pressure. But that's just the way that the game kind of unfolded toward the end. You can't blame it all on Goff because he was getting a ton of pressure there at the end. Clearly, the number's 24.3% on the season. That's a lot of pressure. That means he's trying to scramble or do something almost a quarter of the time. That's a lot. So, looks like we got some more chats there. Why don't you go ahead and open up the chat if you got anything for us?
Yeah, Mike Miller. I love it, buddy. What's Branch stat line? This week could be something special. Well,
could he clarify on that question? What does he mean by Branch's stat line? Because I got a bunch of stats for Branch that I'm gonna throw out at the end. So let me know exactly what you're looking for, and I might already have it, and it'll roll all together here towards the end.
Yeah, Mike, if you get a chance, buddy, go ahead and rephrase that for me. Another one from Mike Miller. Did AG find his groove? Well, judging by the way the defense played against Atlanta, I'm going to say my opinion is that it looks like he found his groove. But what I need to see is some consistency. The way he hammered that offense against Atlanta, are we going to see that against Green Bay? And then we're going to see that the week after. I personally think that it's going to take a couple more games of solid, consistent defense to really, really say that he's found his niche. I mean, it took him half the season last year for that defense to come alive. Will, I've said this. Clearly, after the performance we saw, I don't think it's going to take him half the season again like it did last year. But again, show me a few more games, some really strong defense, and I would say he's definitely found his groove.
I could lean on that. You know, I think that, look, AG got screamed at. You know, Dan Campbell said the other morning that it's not easy to deal with him, and he says that typically after a bad loss, after a bad day in the office, right? He's screaming at his guys. And I'm sure that AG was read the riot act. There was a lot that went wrong in that Seattle game, and it shouldn't have. And clearly it shouldn't have when you just seen what we did to the Falcons, which should have been a much tougher game than the Seattle Seahawks. So I don't know if he's found a groove as much as maybe he finally just pulled out the stops. You know what I mean? He didn't limit himself. Yeah. He didn't hold anything back. He wasn't afraid to let the guys play. So, look, stay in your groove, AG. Whatever it is, man, keep riding it. Keep pressing the gas on it. Whatever you found last weekend, let it continue.
Yeah, because going into Lambeau, we need to have that. I got a couple more comments, Will. Do you want me to go ahead and read them off? Or
Yeah, roll with it.
All right. Mike Miller again. We need to clean up the penalties to win the big games. I know refs hate us, but so many self-inflicted wounds. It won't work in the playoffs. I can give you that one. I've seen time and time again. Just a quick example. I could see, I believe it was 18 or 19 when we had the great Matt Patricia as our head coach. There was a game where Trey Flowers got 2 defensive holding calls against Bakhtiari, and they were clearly not defensive holding calls. So that's one of those typical, are the refs going to screw us type things? I hope they don't. I hope they let these two teams just play. But I do agree, Mike, the careless penalties that we have been taking here and there, they do need to go away. I can say that for sure. I got a new one here. Robert Fournier, welcome in. Thanks for the content. Hey, Will, we love it. We love the content. We love giving it to you guys as accurately and as informative as we can. And we love having you guys come in here every time we do a pod. Thank you so much for the great compliment, Robert.
Hey, Robert, welcome in, man. You're a new name. So thanks for jumping in tonight. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I know who this is. Do Days. We know that guy, Will.
Hey, dude, what's up, buddy?
Dude, how you doing, buddy? And welcome in. Thanks for joining us. And you make a great point. Defense has to stay on point. Absolutely.
100%.
I just one last thing I'll mention is just like I said against Atlanta, they play the way they did against Green Bay, the way they did with Atlanta. We have no issue to win this game. There you go, Will.
All right. So Packers offense overall is my next topic here. Overall, the Packers have put up 271 yards rushing with 2 TDs, 655 yards passing with 7 TDs, while facing the Bears, 32nd ranked defense, the Falcons, 26th ranked defense, and the Saints with the best ranked defense they've faced so far at 9th. You know, through 3 weeks, it's early, right? We don't know where these defenses are going to end up towards the end of the season or even the middle of the season yet. It's early, but facing an average defensive rank of 22, the Packers offense is clearly not a major threat without Watson and Jones. It's just when they come back, and if they come back on Thursday, that we're going to see a different team out of the Packers is what I'm afraid of. But will it matter is going to be the bigger question. You know, the Packers will certainly have more playmakers and options with them in should they suit up. I just don't see the Packers offense getting that much better in 4 days with, 2 guys coming off injuries that still have to go out there and take a hit and get up. Like I said earlier, the Lions run a similar defense to the Saints and the Falcons, very similar. Look, they all have worked together. Dan Campbell and AG, well-versed in the Saints system. And the defensive coordinator for the Falcons, he also worked in that system. So there's a commonality here that the Packers were struggling with that type of a defense, which the Lions just so happen to have a very similar one. So I think that, again, the edge is leading towards the Lions on both sides of the ball already. Look, it's no secret now that the Falcons, even Arthur Smith, right? He's an excellent guy at creating game plans. The Atlanta's offense boasted plenty of explosive weapons on Sunday. Yet Detroit was able to hold the Falcons to 28.6% third down conversion rate, an absurdly low 2.8 yards per play, 183 total yards of offense on 12 drives. That is one giant step forward for the Detroit defense. The momentum that they're going to bring into this game this week, just from the Falcons game, is going to be huge. So now let's see if they can keep it up in week 4 against the Green Bay Packers offense that will likely get Christian Watson and Aaron Jones back. The Lions should have the edge here. Overall, everything on the Packers offense that we've discussed so far, I'm expecting a huge performance from the defense again this week. These guys, they love playing on grass. They're going to be in their first grass environment of the season. The weather's going to be phenomenal in Green Bay. It's going to be clear. It's going to be hovering around 55 degrees at night. That is perfect football weather. There's nothing better than a hoodie outdoors watching a football game.
Got that
right. These guys are going to be pumped up, man. They're going to be rocking. They're going to be on grass. I just hope they learned the lesson from last season. They've got to wear the biggest spikes they're allowed to wear per the NFL on that turf. The Packers do funny things. Every single game the Lions have played, they've had a cleat issue. And that's because they'll go out there and either wet it or they'll dry it. And then they'll tell their guys, what cleats to wear. The Lions need to be ready for everything. It's those little funny things teams do, man. And they know about it. They know these little tricks. It's just you've got to be out there and be ready to change, on a whim. So here's my keys for the Lions, unless we've got anything else to get to in the chat. I'm going to start with Jared Goff, man, the man of the year so far.
Yeah, I do have Mike Miller again. Thank you so much for your comments. I watched Green Bay versus Atlanta and Green Bay versus New Orleans full games. They're not quitters and gritty, but they don't scare me. If we don't hurt ourselves, penalize, just my humble Honolulu Blue opinion. I agree.
I think you're 100% right, man. It's shooting ourselves in the foot is what we can't do. And I think so far it's been a pretty clean season for the Lions in that respect. I feel like the refs kind of got on us a little bit in all three games. Some mythical penalties. We still don't know where they came from, but we got to, I've said this so many times, man. Look, you take the refs out of the game by putting points on the board, right? You keep them out by keeping points off the board. If the Lions can just do that, they don't have to worry about the refs. I don't care how many flags they throw them. Neither does Brian Branch. He doesn't give a crap what these refs say. The guy is not going to quit hitting. He said it, and I don't know if you guys caught this. I said it yesterday. I was watching the media session with Branch, and I've got to say it again because it disappeared. It's been scrubbed. If you guys find it, please send it to the Rock Down Detroit Lions page. But in the media session, he was talking, to the reporters, and they were asking about the hit on Bajan and about the penalty that ensued afterward. And in so many words, I paraphrased what he said was he's not going to stop doing it. If it goes against his core values as a player, he's not going to stop. It wasn't a penalty. And just because he, took Bajan out and took his helmet clean off doesn't mean that it was a penalty. Tighten up your chin strap, Bajan. I mean, come on. This is the NFL. Button it up, buddy. All right. Jared Goff, man of the year so far. Goff is coming into this game playing pretty well. He has statistically been playing very well, even though it doesn't seem like it. I mean, you really haven't noticed like a huge game from Goff. It doesn't feel like it during the game that it's a huge, huge game. And I feel like that's because his accuracy and his completion rates are just kind of on another level right now. And things seem to be pretty smooth now that they're in the second year of the offense and things are kind of just gliding and we're expecting some things to happen. Same thing with Amon-Ra, and I'm sure I'm going to double this up. The guy puts up 80, 90, 100 yards in a game, and you don't even notice it. Like, it just happens. And I don't know if that's, because I'm at the games and I'm not noticing it as to more when you're watching it from TV. Maybe you notice it a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But once again, Goff is a top 5 QB this season. To start the season this time, and he's going to stay there. And if he continues on the same path, he's going to eclipse 4,400 yards again through the air this season. And he hasn't even had his best game yet. I dare say that if Goff continues on this trajectory, he could break 5K. That's my goal for the guy. He could break 5K this season.
He will.
Especially if Jameson Williams comes back in week 7 and turns out to be a ball player and remains healthy. Sky's the limit for this team. Goff is 72 completions on 103 attempts, 819 yards through the air versus the Packers, 655, right? So he's got about 260 more yards than the Packers through the air. And he's got 1 rushing TD to his name. He's averaging nearly a 70% completion rate, 5 TDs and only 2 interceptions. Now, I didn't compare the last 3 games last season. I can't remember how many interceptions he had through 3 games last season. Might not have been many. But when you look at it over a season, Goff is right on the same trajectory that he was last season, if not better. And that's what we needed out of him. We needed a rinse and repeat kind of season from Goff this year. He is 6th in yards. He's 3rd in yards per attempt. He's 6th in completion rate, 9th in TDs. He's tied with 12 quarterbacks for 11th in interceptions with 2. He is 5th overall quarterback rate of 101.6. Goff is the man. How much more does he have to do to earn your respect? That's my question. If you don't respect him, when are you going to? Because you better start putting some respect on this guy's name. But you know what? I don't even know if I care anymore. I don't know if I care what people think or say anymore because, hey, downplay his ability. That's great. That just means every week that they walk in, you're going to think he's going to shit the bed and he's going to light you up. So kudos for Goff, man. Guy is playing lights out and he's the coolest cucumber out of anybody, on the field. off the field, on the sideline. He's always in it to win it. It's simple for me for Goff this week. Really simple. He just needs to do what he's been doing, and the offensive line needs to give him enough time to continue doing what they've been doing, right? As long as Goff has some time to throw and the routes, give some time for the routes to develop, Goff has shown the ability to check down, look off, right? Get to his fourth option, quickly. The guy is amazing with his timing. His accuracy is impeccable. And those are the things that I'm not worried about. It's just keeping him clean. If we can just keep him clean, he's going to have a great game. And the offensive line is starting to get beat up pretty bad. So they've got to have a good plan for Goff to stay away from Colby Sorsdahl. He did a great job coming in, last week or just a few days ago against the Falcons in a position that he hasn't played or practiced at all season long at right tackle. He did a phenomenal job. But when we started to run Gibbs on that side, it just wasn't working, right? You had to stay away from the right side and run to the left. And I hope they learn from that. Run to the left. Don't run towards Colby. Colby will get it. I think Colby's going to be a phenomenal player. I just think he's really young in his career right now. But the Lions really need to get in and out of this game with a win and get to the extended break as healthy as they can. They get another 10-day break basically between games. If they can walk out of this game any which way possible with a win and stay healthy, we're gonna be set up for a big push into the second quarter. Our ability to win the division and make the playoffs. There was some stat that came out today. It's like a 54% better odds if we can just win tomorrow. So tomorrow's a big game. It really is a big game. All right, what do you got to add to that, or what do you got for the chat?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the chat first because it seems like there's a common problem now. Whenever I hear Goff's name and I hear it in the negative, I get very heated up. So I'll go to the chat first for some positivity. Mike Miller, Goff moves the chains.
Yes, he does.
That statement alone, Mike, predicates every single thing that Will and I will gossip about or we will preach about with Goff on a weekly basis before and after games. The guy is a solid, serviceable quarterback. For the love of God, everyone get that through your head. Another one, this goes along with what you said about JMO, Mike Miller. I am only holding my breath on JMO. I so want him to be that guy, but he's got my guard up.
Yep. I'm with you on that boat.
I'm with you on that one on JMO too. Until he gets on the field and starts doing what we drafted him for and he starts really producing, yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath yet either. And Lions Syndicate, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us again. Thoughts on MJJ being MIA? Great work, by the way.
Who's MJJ?
That is actually who I'm trying to figure out. Well, I don't know if that's a misprint or if it's somebody that we don't know.
Who's that?
I'm really thinking very hard on who that could be.
MJJ.
Yeah.
I'm not following you, and I don't know his first name. I forget his first name.
Yeah, I'm not.
And I love seeing him back in this chat, man. He was in the other night too, and I watched his show again today, and he does a great job. If you guys want to watch a really good show, watch Lions Syndicate too. He does a great breakdown. I don't know if he goes as long as us, but he really does a great job in the time that he's on and breaks some things down. Fun, energetic guy.
Marvin Jones Jr. That's who it is.
Oh, Marvin Jones. Yeah, what man? Like,
where's he been?
I've totally had higher expectations for Marvin Jones. I don't get it. You know, he got in his first game and he had a fumble. He never fumbles, and now he fumbles, and then he's not getting in. He's not producing. He's just not the same Marvin of the old. And I'm hoping that Antoine Green can step up in a hurry because it doesn't appear that Marvin Jones has it anymore. Maybe the game's left him. I don't know. When you say MIA, I haven't heard any other news of him not being, with the team or anything. But as far as a performance standpoint, yeah, he's 100% MIA, man. That's totally unexpected. I at least expected the guy to get, 500-600 yards this season.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll put it together soon. I don't know, but we'll see. As you can tell, I haven't spent any time on Marvin Jones because he hasn't done a damn thing.
No.
So I really got nothing for the guy. But the next guy I do, the surge of Sam Laporta, Sammy the Bull Laporta, man.
Hey, Will.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I've got to get this off my chest. And I promise from now to the season, I will do everything in my power to not let this get the best of me. If we win tomorrow, and by some negative and off chance Goff happens to throw a pick or an interception or a pick six, whatever, in this game, if I have to hear anybody with the lingo of, we got to get rid of him, this and that, he's not the guy, I quit. Because I just don't get it. I told you when I hear Goff's name now, and again, he's our guy. And I'm on the defensive about him. It seems like almost every day when I'm reading the pages, the reviews, just stop already. We're going to be fine. Sorry, Will, please go ahead.
So here's the deal, man. Goff is allowed to make mistakes, right? As long as he can win the game and come back from his mistakes, he's allowed to make mistakes like every other quarterback in the league. He's not going to be perfect. And we can't expect him to be perfect because then you're really setting yourself up for a failure. Goff is the type of guy that he's probably doing the right thing, and whoever he's throwing the ball to is probably doing the wrong thing. I know that doesn't sound right, but like the first interception, I think Gibbs went right. The ball was supposed to go left where Goff threw it. Dan Campbell called it out at the press conference. I mean, that's a rookie. Look, Gibbs he isn't ready yet. You know, he's doesn't have the fluidity with Goff yet. He doesn't have the time on task with Goff yet, like Dan Campbell always preaches. So I think a lot of what you're seeing early is it's a situation where they're trying to learn each other. They didn't get any preseason work. And that's the one thing that I think they're all missing. And they're going to be a little rusty from that. They got a lot of work in with the extra reps with bringing, the teams in for practices, but there's nothing better than a game. You can mock it up as best you can on a practice field, but it's different in front of 60,000 fans, doing it live on a field. It's just different. So I wish that's one thing that Dan Campbell could have done different this year was at least get the guys in for a half, throughout the full preseason. And I get the other side of that. He wanted to walk into the Chiefs game as healthy as possible. I am most certain, without talking to the man myself, that was his plan. That would have been my plan. I'm sure it would have been many of your guys' plan too. But let me get back onto Porta. We've just seen a small sample size of what this kid can do. Look, he comes out of, Iowa University, right? Tight end university. And great tight ends have come out of that university for decades now. And what we're seeing out of Sam Laporta is no different than the other guys that have come out of there. There is a lot more offense to install yet, plays that have yet to be used or run. I am sure we will start to see more of Ben Johnson's genius come out tomorrow. The Packers have not faced a great tight end battle yet. Kyle Pitts was supposed to be that guy, but do you know why Kyle Pitts didn't really do anything against the Packers? I think he was 2 receptions for 15 yards. Is because the Falcons ran roughshod all over him for like 211 yards on the ground. They didn't need their tight end, which is where they normally go to. I mean, Ritter is always been a quarterback to use as tight ends. But when your running game is working, it kind of negates the use, of a tight end all the time. So that's why there wasn't a ton of yards on it. So I expect Laporta to have a good game. Matter of fact, I expect him to kind of rinse and repeat in this game, to be honest with you. He should be able to get free underneath with the focus on Amon-Ra and Reynolds getting the action early, I think is what's going to happen. And if Montgomery does suit up and he's able to bang away through the tackles and get the ball moving forward and the play action opens up and Gibbs is able to start doing his work on the outside zone and maybe even squirt up the middle a little bit and get some passes out of the backfield, which would be nice to see for once. I think Laporta goes for 80 yards on 7 catches again. I called it last week. I said he was going 7 for 80. What did he do? 8 for 84. And I think he's going to get another TD. I think he's going to have another stellar game. I really do. I don't care if Jair Alexander is in or not. I think that Laporta is going to eat this team alive. I really do. When you watch him finish, right? The way he catches the ball, the way he corrals the ball, he's already moving his body upfield. He is one of the most fluid guys after the catch, during the process of the catch. that I've seen from a tight end in a long time. He really reminds me. I'm not saying he's as good as Kelsey. Okay, I'm not. It's too early. But when you watch Kelsey complete his catch and get his body moving towards the end zone, right? North, wherever he's got to go. Laporta does that the same way. And that's how guys are successful at getting more yak and getting those couple of extra yards that make all the difference in the game. So Laporta is going to have another big night tomorrow. Cash it in. I'm telling you, man. I haven't been wrong on him yet. I don't want to be wrong on him now.
No, I believe you will. There's no way he's not going to have another good game. He's that kid he's something special. I love watching him play.
He's the goofball, man. He really is. He's the goofball.
Oh, yeah. He is.
All right. My second guy here on the offense, Amon-Ra. I mean, Mr. Consistent, right? He's doing his thing. He's doing it quietly. And it's something to me that it's kind of scary about where his future's headed, because the guy comes into the league with the biggest chip on his shoulder, and he's never let it go, and he's never going to let it go. And that chip is turning into one of the best slot receivers in the game. Not only just in the game, but even outside the game. He's just a wonderful human being. He's an intelligent individual, well-read, well-studied, an amazing athlete, extremely dedicated to his craft and in his life and the people around him. And it shows in everything he does. So when you're watching a guy get 102 yards in a game and you felt like maybe he got 60, it's because he just does it so effortlessly now. And it's the, like, I don't know why I'm not seeing it when it's happening, but it just seems like, between Goff and Amon-Ra, they're just one and the same. And they're doing it quietly and they're doing it consistently. And you don't even notice it until the end of the game. You're like, he had what? Like, how did I didn't even notice it. So whether Jair Alexander's playing or not tomorrow, Amon-Ra is going to put up his average, I think. And anytime a player comes back from injury, there, like I said earlier, there tends to be a game between really getting back to game shape. And I think that Jair Alexander is going to fall victim to that tomorrow. I don't know that Alexander suits up, in front of Amon-Ra. He probably won't. But if he does, and if they are matched up, at times, I expect Goff and the Lions to test him early to see what he has. I don't think that's a mistake. I think that you're going to want to throw right at the top guy just to see where his head's at, see if he's even going to expect it. So I got Amon-Ra putting up 75 on 7 tomorrow. And I think he's going to get in the end zone one time. So far I've got Laporta going 80 on 7 for 1 TD. And I got Amon-Ra doing 75 on 7 for 1 TD. That's what I got so far for Goff's passing. Anybody got anything to say on that?
We got Robert Fournier. Here it is right here. Laporta naysayers are eating crow. I agree.
Wait.
The
The Packers still think that Luke Musgrave is the best tight end that came out of this draft, and yep, they're eating crow for sure.
Oh yeah.
I don't think Luke's done a darn thing. I should probably look up his stats real quick before I say that, but I don't think Luke has done a darn thing all season, really.
We got Mike Miller. Sun God reminds me how humble Barry played. He's about the team and the wins. Love this kid.
I said that yesterday too about Jack Campbell. After he had his sack, that he didn't do a crazy, fancy dance. He just got up, he walked off the field, it ended the half, and acted like he'd been there before. And that's the same style that Barry played with, and the humbleness that, hey, I've been here before, man, and I'm going to be here again, and I'll see you tomorrow. So I love it. I love it.
Got another one more I'll read off here from Mike Miller again. We have, and this actually goes back a few comments. I missed it. We have one of the smartest quarterbacks in the league. Anyone bitching are armchair quarterbacks. In Goff, we trust. 100%, Mike. 100%. And you're going to be on the side of Will and I all day long about this one. I'm going to stop. We're good. Will, any response to that?
No, I think he hit the nail right on the head, man. And I'll go back to something I said, 10 episodes ago, I think, with the Chiefs pregame when Kelsey said that you need to have some nerd in your quarterback to have a successful quarterback. Goff is definitely got some nerd in him.
Oh, totally.
And you can tell, but the guy is just super intelligent, super humble. And those are the types of guys that do well in life. So yeah, Luke Musgrave, I mean, he's having some average days, right? He's got 124 yards on the season. No TDs. He has 11 receptions total. What's Laporta got right now? About $190 on the season?
Yeah,
so
about $190, yep.
And he's got a TD already. So clearly Laporta's winning this war right now. All right, so I'm going to move on to the running backs. Look, we know that Gibbs is in for sure tomorrow. And he needs to have a much better game than he did against the Falcons. He's getting his legs underneath him, I think, a little bit more as each game goes. He's kind of he got his welcome to the NFL moment, I think, against the Falcons and trying to, run through the tackle, something he hasn't done a whole lot yet this season. But he's played well. He's performed when he's needed. And the thing that I love about Gibbs' game is he's such a sure-handed pass catcher, right? He does great in all phases of the game, but when you watch him catch, he protects and he goes to the ground and he protects. He doesn't dilly-dally around. Yes, he'll juke. He'll use all the moves he needs to do, but he protects. He's not one, that's trying to fumble the ball. And that's what I love about a young guy, especially a rookie, that, their first mentality is to protect that football. So he's sure-handed in the passing game, protects the ball well. He's getting different looks in each of the first 3 games. So he's developing his tree. He's developing his ability to perform within the offense. Assuming Montgomery is going to play, though, and barring any setback between, today and tomorrow's warm-ups, Gibbs should be able to find a lot of open holes in the screen game and swing passes off the edge. I feel like it's going to be open for him. Even the zone game, the zone run, I think it's going to be available for him. Gibbs is much better in space, right, than he has proven to be between the tackles. So I really want to see him out in space. I hope Ben Johnson uses Gibbs in a manner that it really allows him to use his speed and elusiveness and not really bottle him up, in between the tackles. Stay away from the right side. Stay away from Colby Sorsdahl as much as possible. You're starting a rookie over there, I think, again tomorrow. And I haven't heard anything different. So if anyone else has heard anything different, I don't think the Lions have signed anybody. I don't think that they're going to put Glasgow there, which they could do. I mean, they could kick Glasgow to right tackle and bounce Sorsdahl into right guard. They could. Matter of fact, I think that's where Sorsdahl's played the most of his snaps this season in training camp and everything was right guard. So we'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Anything on that, Andy?
Yeah, I'm still, I love that kid Gibbs. I think he's got a lot of potential, but I just want to see him break out. I just want to see him have that game that makes you look at him and say, you know what, this is why we drafted the kid. All your points you brought up, Will, about Gibbs are 100%. That'll be my biggest concern. If he's going to run the ball, he's got to stay to the left, avoid the right side. It just wasn't his area. I want to see him catch more. I want to see Goff target him more. I hope Ben Johnson can dial something up to where we see the dual threat that we were kind of promised to see, that dual threat with Gibbs, and a lot of us just haven't really seen much of it yet. I mean, Montgomery, I hope he plays. I think Montgomery's still our real go-to, but God, I just want to see Gibbs just break out and wow all of us. That's really my take on Gibbs.
So I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. Look, Gibbs has had some really good games. What does he have on the season? What's his average, I guess? Let me see here. He's got 139 yards on the season. And that's not too shabby now, is it? So he's averaging 46 yards a game. It's not terrible. It's not great. He had one good game, I think, with 80. So if you got one good game with 80 and you kind of snuck it by everybody, and that's a decent game. Imagine when he's going to have a good game. And then I really can't wait to see when he has a great game, like you're saying, and he breaks, 125, 135 yards. Don't compare him to Swift. Swift is behind the best offensive line, in the game. He's got, 4 or 5 seasons behind him now. I think he's in his 4th season right now. So we can't compare him to what we lost. Gibbs, again, he's going to be hurt probably by this Sunday. So, or not Gibbs, sorry. Swift, he's probably going to be hurt by this Sunday. It's just the way that Swift plays. He has a few good games and then he's done. So Gibbs is going to do it. It just might take a little bit more time for him to do it. But this offensive line is also a little banged up. And that kind of, hurts us a little bit, not having the 1-2 punch with Montgomery out this last game too. So we just got to get all the complementary pieces kind of lined up. But yeah, I'm waiting to see that big breakout game. In the passing game is what I was really excited about. And that's what we were leaning on all throughout training camp. Everything I seen in training camp, everything that, Dan Campbell spoke to and Ben Johnson spoke to, we just haven't seen it yet. So when we finally get to see it, I think it's going to wake everybody up.
Absolutely.
Next section I'm going to move on to is the defensive line, but namely Aiden Hutchinson. With Bakhtiari out, Hutchinson is going to have a really good matchup with Rasheed Walker. Now, Walker has been playing pretty well in pass protection. However, Walker has not faced a guy like Hutchinson. Such a high motor, someone that has a vicious bull rush, and he's developed a few moves now. I do expect Hutch to win the battle and continue to pressure the quarterback all game. And I expect him to get home at least one time for a big sack tomorrow that'll be a meaningful sack, not just a sack, like something that's going to change the field kind of sack, an impactful sack. Aiden lines up all over the defensive front at times. We didn't see it a ton in the first couple of games, but we saw it more against the Falcons. So I do expect AG to find the matchup that works tomorrow. And if that means you're bouncing them from the left to the right or to the inside, which we've seen Aiden do all three, I think that AG is going to bounce them around a little bit tomorrow. They find the weakness, press the gas. Find the weakness, press the gas. The minute you find something that works, what did we see in the Falcons, right? Or what did we see against the Falcons? First sack, second sack, next play. And then 5 more sacks follow because they found the weakness. It took them a little bit of time to beat down that offensive line. But by the time they wore them out, they kept bringing in fresh body after fresh body, which if you remember in I don't know, when was it? April or May or June when I put out those shorts where I kept saying you bring in fresh legs after fresh legs, wear them down. And before you know it, they're so worn out that you're just going to have your own way with them. That's what we saw against the Falcons. They had sets of guys waiting on the defense. They were bringing in 2 or 3 guys at a time, 2 or 3 sets of fresh legs at a time. An offensive line can't hang. If you're putting any sort of a drive together and you're getting wore out, if you're running or even if you're doing pass protection a lot because you're down, that really wears out an offensive lineman. And if you keep bringing in fresh legs for the defense, good night. They'll get to you by the 3rd or 4th quarter. And if you're still in the game, that's when the Lions are going to win the game. So I expect AG to press the gas once they find the weakness. And I believe that happens through a lot of communication between these guys. Aiden is one to communicate and let AG know, hey, look, this is what we got going on here. Let's keep doing it. But at first glance, from this past weekend, what I noticed is Royce Newman. He had a pretty rough day at the office, allowing 4 pressures. And if Hutchinson gets an opportunity to line up against Newman, it's going to be in the interior part of the line. And that would involve, Hutchinson having to play a lot more inside as opposed to outside. I don't know if they're going to do that, but it could be a potential tomorrow. And something, we should probably keep our eyes on is Hutch going to move inside at all? It'd be interesting to see, if they put in, kind of 3 edge defenders as opposed to, a Buggs and a McNeil and then a Charles Harris and a Hutchinson or a Kaminsky and a Hutchinson. Maybe you have a Harris, a Hutchinson, a Kaminsky, and a Buggs in, and you got a little bit more speed rush going on, and you can move Hutchinson inside. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But Hutchinson is finally coming alive. There's always the negative on Hutchinson that he tends to get too deep. But what we saw against the Falcons is the DBs finally hit the holes and filled the gaps. And that's what made the difference in that game. And that's what kept that rushing attack from ever having an opportunity against the Lions to be successful. The last thing that I wanted to get to tonight, and let's jump into the chat before I get into the last one, Andy.
Yep, absolutely. We got Robert Fournier, sharpen up that weapon. Let's go. And then Mike
Talking
Miller.
about Hutch.
Yep, talking about Hutch and Mike Miller, Hutch the clutch. He's doing the moonwalk next. Well, he did the stanky leg, so he gets a couple more sacks. He does the moonwalk. I like it, Mike. Let's see what happens.
All right, is that it for the chat?
Yeah, that's all I got, buddy.
All right. Well, hey, again, thanks everybody for participating again tonight and joining us. So don't forget, tomorrow night we're going to do the live stream. We're going to start around 8 o'clock. Yeah, the game should be on about 8:20. We're going to do some play-by-play. If Lions Syndicate's still on, if he wants to join us tomorrow and jump in and talk shop, be more than happy to send you a link. We'd love to have you in, even as a guest, man. Just come hang out with us.
Love to have you.
And I haven't been doing any plug-in lately, but the best way you guys can really support us is by just subscribing. That help get our viewer count up. It helps to get our subscriber shit up so we can, meet the next levels and be able to bring more content. We do this, all on our own dime and put a lot of time and energy into it. So the one thing that we ask is, man, look, we got 17,000 subscribers between our groups, and I've got 118 subscribers on YouTube. There should be a couple more zeros behind that. We just need to get it up. And we're asking you guys to give us a hand. Just give us a hand and subscribe to our YouTube. It's Rocked On Podcast Network. It's not Rocked On Detroit Lions. The network is going to host all 32 teams eventually, and we're going to cover the NFL. So just do us a huge favor and give us a subscribe to Rocked On Podcast Network on YouTube. All right, so the final component to tomorrow's win is the seatbelt gang. These DBs are going to be special. I really feel that they've got a great nucleus here. We have not seen Mosley yet. I think he's the last chess piece to this group, and we're probably not going to see him until Carolina, and that's okay. But I'm going to throw out some stats here. I'm gonna kind of go through 4 guys at least, and maybe 5. Now I'll go through 4. And I'm going to start with Jerry Jacobs. A lot of people dislike Jerry Jacobs. I'm on the fence with Jerry Jacobs because he's kind of a liability often. And that kind of happens as the second cornerback, right? You kind of are the guy that gets targeted the most because nobody wants to throw at Sutton. But I think these stats are going to be kind of a wake-up call for a lot of people. So Jacobs has been a liability. I'm not going to lie. He's been targeted the most, 25 times. He's allowing a 64% completion rate, 9.3 yards per completion, and a 93.6 passer rating against. Not so hot. He has 4 missed tackles with a 16.7% missed tackle rate. That's not so good. And that's when you notice, a little dink and a dunk for 6 or 7 yards that will turn into 12 or 18. And those are the types of big plays that we can't allow to happen. So Jerry Jacobs needs some help. He either needs, they need to figure out a different defensive scheme or, bring another safety over or something. He needs some help because he's the one, that's having the worst of it right now. Cameron Sutton, he's only been targeted 17 times with a 52.9% completion rate. So he's doing about 12% better than Jacobs from that aspect, but he's giving up more yards. He's giving up 12.6 yards per completion. So he's pretty much giving up a first down with every pass. And passer rating is 73.9, which is pretty good. It's not great. It's pretty good. He's carrying a rate of 18.9% though on missed tackles, but it's a little bit confusing when you look at that number because he's only missed on 2 tackles. It's, the weight of 17 targets to the 2 missed tackles, or the completions versus the tackles. I apologize. But his rate, like I said, it's higher due to the less targets per tackles. Kirby Joseph, he's been targeted 6 times with 3 completions. So he gives up 16.3 yards per completion, which is even worse than Cameron Sutton. 50% completion rate, 77.8 passer rating against. Again, that's good. It's kind of right in line, a little north of Cameron Sutton. It's good. It's not great. He has 1 missed tackle. He's carrying a 7.7% missed tackle rate. That's phenomenal. So phenomenal job by Joseph so far. He's been a little absent, on the season from getting the interceptions, and they'll come. We expected. A lot of people thought he was going to have a lot more action in the interceptions, and I cautioned everybody about it because, as a rookie, he got a few balls and quarterbacks tested him a little bit, namely Aaron Rodgers, and now he owns Aaron Rodgers. So it's probably not going to happen in the second season. Quarterbacks are going to wisen up. Look what he did to Aaron Rodgers. Don't throw towards the guy. And that's what you're seeing. He's only been targeted 6 times. There's a reason for it. So Brian Branch, man, this guy, I could talk about Brian Branch all day. He's been the best DB in the bunch. He's been targeted 17 times with 11 completions. And I know that sounds alarming, right? 64.7% completion rate. He's only allowing, this is the caveat, he's only allowing 4.5 yards per completion. 83.2% passer rating against, which is high, but his missed tackle rate is only 5.3%. He's only missed 1 tackle so far all season through 3 games. There is no way you can keep this guy off the field. Looking at the numbers only, you would say he's a liability, with his passer rating or his completion rate. But when you look at the yards per completion, he's bottling up his assignment. He's dropping these guys where they catch the ball. He does not let them move any further than that. And he's keeping them underneath. He's not letting them get above. Brian Branch does an excellent job in all phases of the game. The run game, filling the gaps, shooting the gaps, blitzing. He hasn't been involved in a ton of blitzing yet. I'm sure it's going to come. But like we said in the prepper to Seattle, we wanted to see these DBs hit the gaps and follow Hutchinson, who's leaving that big gap where Geno Smith was able to escape the week before when he gets too deep. You need someone to fill in that lane. And I would love to see some more DB blitzes. I really would, because they work. They can work, especially against a young quarterback like Jordan Love. I'm expecting Branch to get a sack tomorrow. I really am. I'm expecting it to happen. I think they're going to turn him loose tomorrow. So without these DBs, man, I don't think that this team gets it done. DB's got to step up in a big way tomorrow, especially if Christian Watson gets back on the field. So what do you got to say about the DBs? Obviously Branch is probably your favorite right now.
Oh, absolutely.
He's doing an excellent job. The way that he helped corral Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier last Sunday was an epic showing of his ability as such a young person in the game, dominating personality, and somebody that's not going to quit whenever there's a little bit of dirty laundry on the field. He's not going to change his game. For every time that he makes a major play like that and it doesn't get called, well, then you move on to the next one. If one gets called, so be it. But that's where I want to see, Dan Campbell jumping up and down, and calling these guys out, and saying, look, you can't do this. And hopefully at some point, the NFL is going to start looking at some of these plays because that could have been a game changer. You never know. You never want to see a ref get in the middle of a game. So that's kind of all I had for tonight. But to wrap it all up, I see the Lions having a pretty damn good game tomorrow. We're coming in fairly healthy, right? I mean, we're missing some big pieces in areas. As Lions Syndicate, Marvin Jones Jr. is MIA. We don't know what's happened with him. But we still have Khalif, we have Reynolds, and we have Amon-Ra. And I think that those were the first 3 keys to this offense anyway. You gave Khalif a 2-year extension. Josh Reynolds has been Mr. Consistent with Goff, and they've been around each other for a while now. Amon-Ra, we know is the top billing in the wide receiver tree right now until Jamison Williams comes alive for us and actually makes it onto the football field and show us he can play.
Hopefully.
I think the Lions, their top three is there. You've got Amon-Ra, Khalif Raymond, and Josh Reynolds. I think Marvin Jones is just kind of filling in at this point. He's kind of the extra body. I really want to see Antoine Green get out there and spread the field. He's a 4-4 guy, uses speed. He can break off the top two. But now you're seeing Laporta come alive. So the Lions have too many options. So I think if I'm going to answer the question from earlier, and there was another question that we were supposed to answer from earlier too. I don't know if we ever sent that back in, but I think to answer the question, I think Marvin Jones is MIA because the other guys are just outplaying him. And there's just not enough room for him right now. So, if you've got Gibbs in there and Amon-Ra in there and Reynolds in there and Khalif in there and Laporta in there, I think you're kind of set until you get Jamison Williams back. So, all right, send us your final questions, your final takes on the game. I'd love to see everybody's predictions. Go to the Rock Down Detroit Lions page and fill us up with your predictions. We're going to drop some posts here tonight and try to get everybody's predictions again. We're trying to get somebody to get one right so that we can hand out a t-shirt or something. Can't just be a Lions win. It's got to be spot on. It's got to be in before game time tomorrow. So write us your prediction, put the time in there, and we'll see what happens. So Andy, what are your final words on the Packers game?
Well, I want to just real quick, we had a couple more comments that came in late. I'd like to get to them just real quick, Will.
Sure.
Mike Miller, one more time. Great job again. We'll be here for live stream tomorrow. Go Lions, one pride. Awesome. Absolutely, Mike. Thank you. Fives of the week came in. Keep up the good work, Will. I will say fives of the week. Will and I are growing this organically, but Will is without a doubt the driving force behind everything. We can't do this without him. There's no doubt about it. So, yeah, he is doing a great job, and it's great to be.
We're trying.
Well,
we're doing the best. We're doing the best we can with what we got right now.
You're doing great, Will. We got Robert Fournier. You know what? You corrected us when he said sharpen the weapon. We thought Hutch. He was referring to Gibbs. Gibbs is the weapon. Let's go.
He is a weapon, and I wish they'd start using him as a weapon in the passing game. I really do. Like I want to see the guy fly like I did in training camp. I mean, there was so many plays in training camp where he was going 30, 40 yards down the field, and Goff was hitting him in stride.
Absolutely.
And I just haven't seen it yet. It's like, when are we going to see it? Yeah.
We just got a couple more. Mike Miller predicting 31-20. Well, you know what, Mike? As Will said, going to put some comments out there on the page today. So by tomorrow before game time, write it down, send it in. 31-20. If you call it, you're going to win a prize.
31-20. So it's the magic number, right? 20 points. You got to keep them under 20.
It looks like he's
Miller,
been listening to you.
He's maybe. I don't know. It's just, it goes back to the whole conversation I had with Glover Quinn last year. And back when he played, it was 17 points. And I bring this up often because it was Glover Quinn is probably one of the most genuine guys I've ever had a conversation with, next to Don Greco. Just an awesome guy to talk to about football. And he said that 17 points was the number. And I kind of challenged him as the offense becomes more protected, does that number grow? And he said, yeah, it could. And I said, I think it's 20. I think the number's 20, and that's the number I'm sticking with. And I think he agreed with it. So when you go back and look at the games, all the teams, it seems like 20 is that magic number. But the goal is to keep it to 0 if you can. You know what I mean?
Or you keep it to 3 points like we kept Atlanta. That would be also
right.
good too.
Yeah, that's right.
Just get a couple more and then we'll be finishing up. Mo Cobb, thanks for joining us. Our running game needs to get to 130 plus. I couldn't agree more. We actually will touch that a little bit earlier about Gibbs. Love to see him put up like 100, 120 yard game of rushing yards. It'd be phenomenal to see that happen with Gibbs because that's what we've been waiting for, Will. We've been waiting for this guy to break out. We can't stress it enough.
He'll get there.
He will.
And between the two of them, between Montgomery and Gibbs, there's no reason why they can't shred the Packers tomorrow. Their defense is not that great. It really isn't.
No, it's not. It's not at all. And I'm just going to get one more comment here. Mo Cobb again, another prediction, 24-20 Lions. Well, Mo, like I said, send it into us for your prediction. And Will, there's that magic number again, 20 points.
I love it. I love it.
They're listening to you.
Well, maybe, these are some smart fans too, man. They make up their own minds, but I think that the proof is in the pudding for tomorrow. Teams have been able to run on the Packers. The Lions need to follow suit. They need to open up the play action pass tomorrow, and everyone needs to remain healthy. That's the only thing that I want. Like, if it's 24-20, I don't care. I don't care if it's 21-20. I just want the W. I want everybody out of there healthy to get to this long stretch and make a push. And I really hope that Brad Holmes is going to find some players for us, on the trade block to help with this offensive line, because if we don't have a top 5 offensive line, it's going to stutter and sputter out our offense. They're not good enough in the depth, game right now to make a deep run without bringing some guys in. So we've got to get deeper there in a hurry.
Yes, we do.
I want to ask a question, actually. I want to ask a question to everybody out there. So Josh Pascal's not in, right? James Houston's not in. This defense plays lights out. So do we think that maybe there was an issue with the way those guys were playing, maybe not fitting into the scheme, not doing what they're supposed to do? I mean, obviously we know that Houston got burned by Fant, in that second game against Seattle. He was playing in a position that he shouldn't have been. He shouldn't have been covering tight ends down the field. And maybe that was a blown assignment that AG was giving the guys, But that's my question, is maybe Josh Pascal and James Houston not a good fit right now for what AG was trying to do with them? Because I thought Josh Pascal was playing fairly well. But then again, from what I saw against the Falcons, they weren't missed at all. And James Houston is a guy that should be rushing the quarterback every damn play. So I don't know. I just, when I saw the way that it lined up and the way that the game finished, and you got a couple of key guys that are out like that, it starts to make you think a little bit. Maybe they're going to get to the right guys that can produce. And by having Bugs back in the game, probably made all the difference in the world. But that's my question to you guys. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. Load us up with questions tomorrow night. I think the game plan is 8:00. We'll just kind of talk. We'll break down some plays. I'll warn you ahead of time. Sometimes I can get a little heated during the game if I see some things. So I'll try to behave. I'll take blood pressure medicine early, and we'll see what happens.
Let it flow, Will. I will say, Will, I saw how you were when you and I went to the Seattle game, so I'm not gonna.
I'm passionate. I'm passionate. I'm passionate.
We're passionate Lions fans, so if it comes out on it tomorrow, if you see Will and I get a little upset or angry or the occasional yell, please bear with us. That's just how we are.
I'm sure they do the same thing at home, but
of
it
course,
is what it is.
We all do.
All right, so unless we have any final questions, my prediction tomorrow is going to be the Lions hang 31 and the Packers put up 13. 31-13. I know it's a big spread. I'm asking for a lot, but I'm really expecting the Lions to come in and trounce the Packers and continue to own the Packers the way that they have the last season. What has it been? 740 days now, or whatever it has been since the Packers have beat us.
Yep.
So I think the Lions go in and make another statement victory tomorrow, another statement win, get out of there as healthy as they can, go home, rest up, and do it again against Carolina, because Carolina is a team that was supposed to be sneaky. There was a team that I thought that was going to be sneaky. As a matter of fact, it was a team that the Lions syndicate thought that was going to be sneaky good too. And Carolina's fallen flat on their face. So there's another victory waiting to happen. We just got to get through tomorrow first. So that's all I got, Andy. So unless there's anything you have.
I'm just going to make my quick prediction. I was going to say this will be I'm going to give it 31-20. I'm actually in agreement with Mike Miller. I think it's a smaller spread than what you have. I think the offense is perfectly capable of putting up 31 points. The defense, I'd say in a perfect world, I'd love to see them only allow the Packers 3 points like we do with Atlanta. But I think Green Bay is a little bit better of a team than Atlanta. So unless I'm wrong, I can't quite see the defense holding Green Bay to just 3 points. But you know what? We will see what happens. Comment-wise, that's pretty much about it. I've gotten everything, and that's where I'm at, Will.
So I'll put out my final prediction once I see the injury report tomorrow, like I always do. Because this is the pre-injury report prediction, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens tomorrow. All right, y'all. I can't thank you all enough. Please check out Rock Down Detroit Lions Facebook page. Give us a subscribe on our YouTube, which is Rock Down Podcast Network on YouTube. And then our link is always in our bios. You can find the link tree, and it'll take you everywhere. You can visit the villainsquad.store. That's www.villainsquad.store. We've got a lot of new designs. You can help support our channel there. You can buy stuff right through Amazon, and we just get a little kickback for it. So it's the same prices. It's, the same shipping rates and everything that you would get for buying it from somebody else. You're just helping out a local guy, build something so that we can continue to do content. And we appreciate all the help. We definitely just appreciate you guys just showing up and giving us some comments in the chat. That's great too. So
thank you.
All right.
You guys.
We'll see y'all tomorrow. We hope to get about 1,000 comments tomorrow night. We did it on draft night.
Yes.
So we hope to get 1,000 tomorrow, and hopefully get a bunch of likes on the page, and let's have a good time. So we'll do our best with the chat tomorrow, and we're gonna just kind of take it as it comes, and it'll be a learning experience, and we're gonna do it up on One Pride style. So we'll see y'all tomorrow night, 8:00 sharp, right here. One Pride, y'all. Take care.
One Pride.
So, we look like we're ready. But this is day one. It's about the work. And I've said that from day one. It'll always be the same message. It's about work. You got to go earn your right every year. Doesn't matter what the players are, the coaches, expectations, where you were, where you're going. We got to work, man.
Wants to throw it to Stewart. He caught it. Billy Stewart with a first down. Oh, the big man. Dives down to the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful.
Let me tell you something. I love this team now. I got goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team.
Fields looking pressured. Hit from behind. Taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
What do you think about the secondary?
Just look at the name, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You drafted Branch.
It started off with that huge hit on Beasley.
McCollum bends out. There's a big hit right away. And boom!
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Goff dropped it in the bucket that time.
We're in our window now to win.
Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as a loser.